Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own, because there's nothing new under the sun. It's only your perspective that's new.
Hear his story, I think, is so important. It's tobacco. It's called Pirate's Den.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the FLW podcast. We are so excited to have you all here as we talk with amazing leaders around the world. I'm here with my co-host, Gabriel Klingman.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. And I just want to give a quick reminder that if you can just hit that subscribe button, it would mean the world to us. We do this for you guys.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, so we're super excited because we have Aaron Darko here on the call today. For those of you who don't know him, Aaron is an amazing leader. He's the founder of healthmastery.net and is a self-made successful entrepreneur who helps other entrepreneurs achieve their goals in health and wellness. So, Aaron, how are you doing on the other side of the world, brother?
I'm great, man. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on, guys. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to share some knowledge and wisdom and hopefully help some people.
Awesome. Well, we're super excited. I'm actually jacked to learn how to get jacked, if that makes any sense. So
I love it.
So I'm ready to hop into it. So, dude, could you just kind of share a little bit about how did you get started in this entire industry for yourself?
Yeah, it's a crazy story, right? Like 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, at the time of recording this podcast, I wasn't interested in health that much. You know, I wasn't implementing any of the stuff that I had studied. So basically, when I was 18 years old, I was at university and I'd started lifting weights for the first time. And I'd lifted weights for 3 months, and I had a guy who was basically my mentor, one of the seniors, and he was helping me like lift weights. And I started reading all the magazines about muscle and fitness, you know, like Men's Health and all this stuff about muscles and how to build them and what to eat, all that kind of stuff. And I started getting results. But then I went to summer camp in the next year, and I was a soccer coach in a place in Maryland in summer camp. And so I was there for 2 months, and I was basically just running in the sun every day, not doing any strength training, eating like the crappy food that they provided children with, right? So I lost all my muscle, and then I didn't train again consistently until 27 years old, which was 4.5 years ago. Wow. And so in that time, I realized I didn't have a mentor. So I was just dabbling here, trying this workout app, trying this new thing, this new gimmick, getting a jump rope and getting some dumbbells, getting some bands and doing all the things, right? But not being consistent with any of it. And I do like push-ups here and there, but nothing consistent. And then it wasn't until one of my friends, he came to hang out with me 4.5 years ago now. And that was when he basically like shone the light on everything that I wasn't doing. So everything that I could have been in those years, like he was it, you know, like he had a business that he loved. He had a wife, he had kids, he could speak 4 languages. He was jacked, he was ripped. He was very sociable. Like he was just everything that I wanted to be, basically. And without even saying it, like he made me realize that I could do more. And so he invited me to the gym, and then we started working out together. And then I realized that, you know, when we walked into the gym, it was kind of like The Rock walked into the gym. Like everyone was working out. They were looking, like, you know, when you're working out and you got the mirror in front of you. And
exactly.
People are working out and they look in the mirror, and then they like take like a double take. They'd like take a double take and look back. And it was just looking at walking through the gym, right? And I was like, damn, I want to have that. I want to have that presence, you know, and that respect from people just before you even open your mouth. People respect you because of how you look. And so I was like, wow, I want to have that. So I started listening to what he was telling me in the gym. He started coaching me because my knowledge, even though I had a bit of knowledge about what to do in the gym, like I wasn't doing it, so I didn't know it, right? Like if you're not doing it, you don't know it. So that was me. And so I just emptied my cup. This is what I tell my clients, just empty your cup of what you thought you knew and just allow your cup to be filled back up with new knowledge, right? And so that's what I did. And I started learning and I started getting results and I started posting that online. And all the people on my Facebook were like internet marketers, right? So these people were like me, like not taking their health seriously. You know, I'd meet them at conferences and stuff like that. They'd be eating all the crap. And that was me too. So these are all my followers on Facebook at the time. And so I started posting my pictures and the response was crazy. Like all these people were like, what the hell are you doing, Aaron? Like what's going on? Like you're getting jacked, all this stuff, right?
Wow.
And then they wanted to know what I was doing. And so I stumbled across this quote by Bruce Lee. He said, was it? Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own, because there's nothing new under the sun. It's only your perspective that's new. And so that's basically what I did with what my mentor, Jacob, taught me. Was I just, took what was useful, discarded what I thought wasn't useful for me, because, he was training like pretty much every day, and I just added what was uniquely my own. So what was useful for me was, doing the compound movements, for example. I guess we can talk about it later, but, like training every day, that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I had to whittle it down and compact the system into 3 days. So I wanted to train just 3 days a week, because I believe in less is more, right? Yeah. So I didn't want to be in the gym every day. And so that's what I did. And then I started coming out of my system, and, I released my program, and then all the entrepreneurs that I knew from internet marketing joined it. And a lot of them started getting results. A lot of them didn't even open the damn thing up and do it.
yeah.
Which is annoying.
Classic.
Dude, it's so true too. For those of you who have not seen this man's Facebook, he's not lying. Like, I'm one of those people who was like, what the frig, dude? You are a beast. Absolute beast. And dude, with that, I actually had a question. I ran across another picture, not to be such a creeper on your Facebook, but I ran across this amazing picture. I wanted to see if you'd be willing to explain it just a little bit. Do you see that right there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's last year in Bali, yeah.
Yeah, sure. There's got to be a story behind this, because it's just super cool looking.
Yeah, so that was actually a trip that one of my mutual friends, Jabril Agoro, he's founder of Passport Heavy, so like a travel, travel blogging YouTube channel. And he organized this trip with all of us entrepreneurs here in Bali to go to a nearby island last year. And so we went there, and I had my videographer at the time, and then his photographer took that photo. And it was just a really, really cool creators trip. We were creating lots of great content, because we had 3 videographers on the trip. So we were on the yacht, we were doing drones and all that kind of stuff. And it was just a really cool trip. And that picture was just one of the photos that he captured. And I wanted to take that photo with the guy, because it just really captures why I live in Bali. Like the people here are just, they don't, a lot of the people, like that guy in that photo, doesn't have much, but he's super happy. And it's just a change in perspective. And that helped me with my coaching as well, because it's all about just changing your perspective on how you view things. Like, for example, like how you view food. If you just change your perspective, that's really going to help. And that's really what people are paying for, right? Like, when I pay a coach, I'm paying for their perspective on this problem that I perceive as a problem, because they don't perceive it as a problem, but I do. So they know something I don't. So I just need to get their perspective, and then I can apply it to the problem and solve it, so.
Wow.
Come on. Wow. That is freaking amazing. Oh, that is such a beautiful way to say that. You're paying for someone else's perspective. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So with that, how has some of those different perspectives, this is going to be a broad question, how have some of those perspectives influenced specifically your day to day? Like what you do, you wake up in the morning, you go throughout your day. How has some of those different perspectives introduced the kind of like a mundane, the stuff everyone does?
Yeah, so one of them is the affirmations. So
come on, I have 3 affirmations to do every morning. This is going to get me stoked.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I do every morning. Like that's every time. The first thing I do when I wake up is I have audio files of my affirmations, and I just play them to myself. I used to read them, but it took too long. Sometimes I don't want to read like first thing in the morning, so I just play the audio file, and it just programs my mind every day. It's crazy. Like. It's amazing what it does to your subconscious, right? Like, because obviously, as we know, the subconscious drives all of our behavior. So that's one of the things that I do. I play my affirmations audio. And another thing is I reframe the way I view content. So for example, when I watch a Jeff Bezos video on YouTube, when he's giving advice, I filter it through like, imagine if I paid $100,000 for this information. Would I take it more seriously? Of course I would. So I take it more serious because I have that filtering question, because I feel like over the years I've gotten used to just, it's on YouTube. I'll just listen to it and just think it doesn't apply to me because it's on YouTube and it's free. But if I pretend that I paid a lot of money for it, then I can utilize that information differently. So just getting in the heads of like thinking like billionaire. I'm not a billionaire, but I'm thinking like that, like how can I think like Bezos? Like, how can I think like these people who I want to be like? Like I have pictures on my wall right now. I've got like Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, Cristiano Ronaldo, Sir Alex Ferguson, Will Smith. Like I've got all these people on my wall. And I'm like, I look at this every day. I'm like, how can I think like these people?
That's so awesome. And with that perspective, because I want to dive into learning more about what it is that you actually are. I know that you said you have a program that's going to be coming out here pretty soon, or you have an existing program maybe as well. Can you kind of share a little bit with our audience what you're going to be releasing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the story is, so 4.5 years ago, I got in shape, right? And I started making my program and I released it, but I only had nutrition and workouts, like 2 parts of the health equation. And most people think that that's all they need. I just need to work out more and eat clean, right? And that's what I was doing to get results. But I was also doing other things that I wasn't aware of, which was, de-stressing, like sleeping well and all the other things. I didn't have stress in my life and all that kind of stuff. But I just put down the workouts and nutrition, and people were getting results. But then, I got into coaching because I wanted to get deeper with my clients. I wanted to understand what was going on because a lot of them were rubber banding back to their old habits, even though they were getting results. And I was like, I couldn't understand it. I was like, you just used the program, you lost weight, and now you've put on the weight again. So what happened? And I started phoning these people on the phone because I started learning how to enroll people over the phone. That was another growth area of mine. I changed my business model to coaching, and I stopped selling the program because I wanted to go deeper with my clients. So I started calling my customers and just offering them coaching, and they would all tell me the same thing. And some of them enrolled, some of them didn't, but a lot of them, the same story was there. Life got in the way. This happened. I went and traveled, and then all of a sudden I stopped doing the stuff, and the same story every time. And I realized that over coaching through the last couple of years, I realized that the mindset is the paramount, fundamental. Like if that's not in place, if the belief is not there, if the burning desire is not there, then it doesn't matter what I teach you, it's not going to work. And that's true in every single industry. Like we have to have the must. It has to be a must for us, not a should. And for most people, so sometimes I talk to someone on the phone who they inquire for my services, and they're like, "Yeah, I just want a 6-pack." And I'm like, "Why?" "Well, it looks good." I'm like, "Okay, but I understand it looks good, and I understand you want a 6-pack, but why? Why do you want this? Like, what's it going to do for you that you can't do now? What can you do with a 6-pack that you can't do now?" And, "Well, I never really thought of that. I just want a 6-pack." "Okay, well, I don't think I'm the best person to help you because, in my experience, the people that perform the best in this program are the people that have a burning desire." So, for example, a burning desire would be like one of my current clients. His dad passed away of cancer when he was 56, so he doesn't want to die a similar fate, and he's already 40 kilos overweight, which is like 60 pounds overweight right now, and he's only 34. So this is a burning desire. He wants to be around for his kid. He just had a son, So that's someone who has a real solid reason, and they're not going to make excuses for themselves because their health is number one, and they realize that. And so, so that basically now I'm making the program for the masses because now I have the premium coaching for the successful entrepreneurs, the people that can afford that, right? But a lot of people can't afford that, so I'm making the program for the masses, which is more like a productized version of my knowledge, just video training and PDFs and stuff like that.
Wow.
Absolutely love it, dude.
Yeah,
that's absolutely amazing. Literally, that's incredible. When it comes to the mindset, I'm super curious because you don't see a lot of fitness coaches talking about mindset. It's a little more common now, but it's still very rare. So, like, what are some of the common mindsets that you see that you have to work through, that your clients have to work through? I know you mentioned from a should to a must, but are there others?
Yeah, it's just limiting beliefs, like we all have limiting beliefs, like myself included, but it's a process to get through these limiting beliefs and just be brutally honest with yourself. So one of the limiting beliefs that a lot of my clients have is, one of my clients, for example, he said, "This is my Mount Everest," right? Like being healthy, losing weight. I haven't lost weight for my whole life. This is my Mount Everest. And he's now losing weight and he's lost a lot of weight. And he's now believing. That's the biggest thing. So we worked actually 6 months on his mindset only. It's crazy. That's how long it took for him to start believing that he is a healthy person. And 3 days ago, he sent me like the most beautiful message. about, he said he was doing this gratitude exercise, and he was thinking about the 3 people that had the biggest impact. And he said, I'm one of them. And he was just telling me how he never believed in himself, that he could actually lose weight. He thought that he was the guy that would just be, fat for his whole life. And he never thought that he'd be a healthy person. And when he first saw me, he just judged me. He thought I was a, show off, no emotion, no heart, didn't care. And when he got to know me, he was like, wow, you're actually like quite a softie. And he actually used a really good analogy. He said, if I'm climbing Mount Everest, I don't want my guide to be a drill sergeant. Like, I want my guide to be friendly, to crack jokes, and to help me enjoy the process. And if I fall and slip, he won't like scold me for that. He will just like help me and inspire me and encourage me to keep going. And that's basically what I do with my clients. Like, I don't, when they eat donut, for example, I'm not like, oh my God, you ate donut, you're bad.
I know people get so uptight about that. And with that being said, I actually kind of falls right into another question I had for you was, like, how important is what you eat? Like, can you kind of share a little bit about that? Because I've watched a lot of your videos. I know that you seem to enjoy meats a lot. Is that correct? Or like you really dig into that, which I'm stoked about hearing a little bit about. But, what are some of maybe some of the misconceptions of eating and what you eat, or like how to be better aware of what it is that you're supposed to eat? And then in addition to that, not to throw too much on here, but like, is dieting something that is important, or like, because I hear all about this diet, that diet. I mean, can you just throw at me, like, what are your thoughts on all this stuff?
Yeah. So there's, so when it comes to nutrition, there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of myths. And it's a very broad topic, right? So first of all, that I used to believe in a lot of these myths, and I believe that a lot of the myths keep people sick. So recently I interviewed the author of the book, The Great Cholesterol Myth, and he's a doctor, and he co-authored the book with a cardiologist. And it's interesting because I already knew most of the things that he was talking about, but the reason why I interviewed him is because, I'm not a doctor, right? So if I bring a doctor on and he's co-authored a book with a cardiologist, people will believe it more. Because the truth is that, for example, low fat, the whole you must eat low fat, right? That's a myth, and that originated from the 1960s, 1950s. A guy called Ansel Keys, he made a study, and he basically studied 22 countries, and he saw the data, and he basically cherry picked 7 countries to prove that there was a link between low fat diet and high risk of heart disease, right? So he went and convinced the American Heart Association that people should be eating a low-fat diet. And he was like, Johnny Bowden, the guy from the book, he said he was like the Donald Trump of medicine. So he was very influential, right? He managed to push this through. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, the American government are like publishing these guidelines of how you should be eating low-fat and all that kind of stuff. And if you look at the graph, like the correlation between, it's not a causation, we can't say it actually caused it, but there is a massive correlation between like low-fat diets and also skyrocketing heart disease and stuff like that, and diabetes. Wow. So
very interesting.
That's one of the biggest things, right? Like, first of all, when I work with someone, they have to not believe in myths. And the way I do that is I educate them, kind of like what I just did here, to just educate them on the facts about what happened and why we believe in this thing right now. So that's a big part of it. And then once you kind of like, the domino falls, then you're like, all right, so what do I eat? And you're like, okay, fats are on the table. Like everything we're told not to eat is basically we should be eating, right? Wow. So do the opposite.
Oh okay, right? So lay that out for us.
The food pyramid, at the bottom, it's grains, then you got fruits and vegetables, and you got nuts, and you got a tiny bit of meat, and then a tiny bit of dairy, right? So if you flip that on its head, then you've got basically animal nutrition as the foundation, right? And in most people, this works. Like, yes, there are some vegans that are thriving, but there are way more people that eat meat that are thriving. And also, one of my clients is an ex-vegan of 5 years, for example. So I don't know. I was a vegan too for a month, not a long time, but the results wasn't forthcoming. And I was having 2 to 3 stools a day. My gut health was very compromised. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I just didn't want to continue. And, I actually started craving meat after a month. So I was like, all right, but then that's that, but so what to eat? So this is everyone has a lot of opinion on this, but I like to just use the facts, like the biochemistry facts. You know, like we have a very acidic stomach, a 3.5 pH, which is able to digest meat very well. And so, for example, a lot of people say when they eat meat, they can't digest it. Well, that's actually the opposite was happening. What's actually happening is your body is assimilating and breaking down all those nutrients, which is why you're actually going to the toilet less, right? And one of my recent clients, he before he joined me, he was eating lots of carbs and, you know, basically everything under the sun. And now we're getting him to eat more just like animal protein. And he's like, man, I'm having less stools. Like there's less waste and it's more compact. And he hasn't had a solid stool in years. And now he's having solid stools and it's just easier and he's on the toilet less. And not to get too graphic, but, you know, that's a sign of gut health.
I've never been so excited about pooping. Like, it's so great.
Yeah.
It's good. This is good. No, keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, all of this stuff is what I've experienced myself. So before I teach anything, I want to experience it for myself. So I can't be a armchair coach. You know, I have to have experienced it to have reference, and then, you know, and see how it works on other people. And it does work. It's just that a lot of adults, a lot of us, we are closed-minded. So that's why it's hard to get the message across. But if you're just open-minded and you also realize that actually, you know, I'm actually having some health issues right now, but I'm just not sharing it. Like, for example, one of my friends at the gym, I met him a year and a half ago, and he started saying to me how he just eats meat and seafood and nothing else. And I looked at him, I was like, dude, you're crazy. That is obscene. Like, that's ridiculous. He's like, dude, I feel like I'm having an orgasm every day. I'm like, my mind is so clear. I was like, this guy's crazy. Anyway,
you know what the problem is? He's probably having too many oysters is what's going on right there, bro. So if he's into the seafood.
Yeah.
We know about seafood. We're all up here in Maine in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
So we have the best seafood in the world.
Yeah, that's
arguably.
Yeah.
Right.
All the wild salmon, like this oysters, shellfish.
It's amazing up here. So you have a lot, you just shared a lot of info about like how what you eat affects you physically. But I'm really intrigued, because your coaching program works a lot with mindset. So how does like what you eat affect like your mental state?
Oh, it's like massive knock-on effects, you know, like, so when I was, before I started getting in shape like 4.5 years ago, I'd wake up. I used to live in Thailand, so I used to live with my girlfriend in her house, and I'd wake up at 11 a.m., come downstairs, and there'd be like 8 plates of food on the table, and then we'd eat like buffet style, you know, because the food's there. I'm already full, but there's more food on the table, so I'm just going to eat it, right? So we'd eat it, and then all of a sudden I just fall asleep straight afterwards for an hour. And that was my life. I thought that was just normal. We would all fall asleep, right? And, you know, growing up, I observed everyone around me. Like I'd go to family dinners and stuff like that, and we'd eat food and then we'd just fall asleep. And I was just like, I thought that was normal. Like, because that's all I saw. Oh, you eat food and you fall asleep. You have food coma. That's just normal, right? And it wasn't until I started getting deep into nutrition that I realized that's not normal. And so the first 2 years of me, you know, getting in shape and stuff and bringing out my program, I was still eating high carb. So I was still eating a lot of carbohydrates. I just increased my protein a lot. So I had elevated protein all the time. So, you know, and I was doing intermittent fasting as well. So that was basically, and obviously lifting heavy weights. So those 3 things and sleeping well, that was what got me the results. But I still had sugar cravings, still had poor skin. And it wasn't until 2 years ago that I met one of my friends in London. Well, I met him in Bali first, and then I went to meet him in London. And he basically helped me understand like the next level of health, you know, like kind of what I'm talking about here, like animal protein, like the food pyramid, all that kind of stuff. And that's when I really went to the low carb lifestyle. Because before that, I was still eating lots of carbs, like twice a day, you know. And I was still having cravings, but I thought I was being healthy, you know. I was eating a lot of sugar still, but I looked great. So I was like, all right, cool. But I knew there was a next level, and I tried it out. And the mental clarity that comes from ingesting, knowing what nutrients to get from food, is insane. Like when you stop believing in the low fat myth, right? Because if you're believing in the low fat myth, you're going to be avoiding fat. And that's the very food that gives you mental clarity, because your brain is 60% fat, right? So if you need more cholesterol to have more mental clarity. And so that was one of the biggest keys there. Is I started eating more red meat, more eggs, more bacon, all the foods that we're told not to eat. And ironically, my mental clarity, like I don't take afternoon naps anymore. Right now, I'm really active. I'm training like 2 to 3 times a day, like jujitsu and mobility training and stuff. And I'm not taking any naps. It's like, how do I have all this energy? It's all of this fat that I'm eating, you know? And my clients, like before he joined me just recently, he said, I asked him, like, how much money could you have made last year if you didn't fall asleep after you ate food? And he was like, man, I could have made twice as much. And I was like, that's huge. Like twice as much revenue in a year because of your mental clarity. Like you're losing money because your brain's not sharp. You don't have the energy to sit at your computer and do the work, you know?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's huge. And especially for entrepreneurs, you know, like time is money, you know, as we know. And if you're not feeling good, you can't do your best work. And that has a knock-on effect on your bottom line at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Wow.
What are some of you have a lot of very fascinating perspectives, and this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite interviews that we've done. I am so excited. What are some of the different book recommendations, conferences, any sort of thing to get more information like this, to learn more perspectives? Obviously your coaching program, 100%. What other type of things would you recommend?
Yeah, so there's quite a few actually. First of all, there's I know, like we have to start with the research, right? Like with the history. So this is again what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is basically some people will call it like a carnivore diet, but I don't, like we were talking about earlier about diets. You asked me, Cody, about dieting, and I want to touch on that real quick because it's not about a diet, right? Like it's a lifestyle. So you have to understand certain core principles. And then now you have the freedom to try it out for yourself, and then you can see what you like and what you don't like. It's kind of like the, you know, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own, right? So just making it unique for you. So every time I work with someone, it's always about finding their sweet spot, right? So if people want to go deeper, they can research books like a book I referred to earlier, The Great Cholesterol Myth. That's probably the main one, because basically the whole message in that book is the HDL, LDL test that our doctors are administering right now is outdated. And that's not an accurate way to measure your risk for heart disease, because it's not detailed enough. And so the test that we need to do is the NMR particle test. But anyway, so things like that, right? Like we need to understand like where these myths have come from. Like where did the we need fiber myth come from? It comes from John Harvey Kellogg. So, you know, stuff like that, right? Like the whole fiber myth, like that was made up.
It's like a huge conflict of interest by the sound of what you just said. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, everything I say is basically like the opposite of what we were told. And I have a magazine in there. It's Science of Weight Loss. It's from Time, right? It's like a magazine I bought in the airport once. And on the cover, it's just it's a picture of a heart, and inside the heart is a bunch of fruits and vegetables, right? And that's like the idea of health that we are told, we're programmed with from our early childhood, right? Like that's healthy, right? And sure, like there's some fruits and vegetables that, you know, that have nutrients and stuff, but what a lot of us are not aware of, which I've only been aware of for the last 2 years, is that there's a lot of anti-nutrients in plant foods and fruits. And
anti-nutrients? Can you just define it? I don't want to interrupt, but you lost me at that term. Can you define that? Okay. I'm so confused.
An anti-nutrient is basically a compound that's found in plants, which is basically giving off toxins to the prey that eat it. So essentially, some plants don't want to be eaten, so they form this compound inside. It could be lectins, it could be oxalates, it could be tannins, it could be phytates. And this is what's found inside. And it basically what it does when it goes into the human body is it binds, like oxalates, for example, they bind to magnesium, calcium, and iron and prevent and zinc and prevent their absorption. right? So, for example, spinach is very high in oxalates. I used to eat spinach all the time. I used to tell my clients to eat it until I realized and studied about anti-nutrients, which I never knew about. And most people in the fitness industry, for example, like I don't like to say I'm in the fitness industry, like I'm in the health industry, because health is like talking about blood work markers, fasted insulin and, cholesterol, all that kind of stuff. Like I can look at blood work and be like, all right, that's good. Triglycerides are low, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like evolved from like the fitness. I started out in fitness and I still do that as part of what I do, like the workout side of things and the mobility and stuff, but more about health. Most of my clients are older than me. My oldest client is he's 71.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
It's
is he
anti-nutrient. So basically anti-nutrient. Sorry?
Do you train Chuck Norris? Is that who it was? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all, dude.
So basically my whole philosophy on nutrition, essentially in a sentence, is consuming the foods that are going to give us the most nutrients without the anti-nutrients and without the toxicity, and so we can absorb them in the most bioavailable form. Like I want to absorb most of what I'm eating. So if I have that as the pillar of my nutrition, like I want to absorb most of what I'm eating. There's only a few foods, and most of them are from the animal kingdom, because the animal kingdom foods don't have anti-nutrients. I used to be an absolute gummy bear addict. Like I used to we have the equivalent of Costco, and in England it's called Macro. And I'd buy a big box of these sweets and just eat them like one pack after the other,
Yeah.
And I was addicted to sugar, like most people are, right? And
of course.
Switching to increasing my protein, increasing my fat has really changed my gut bacteria, and now I don't crave the carbohydrates. I still eat some from now and then, from time to time, because it has to be sustainable. It's not a diet, right? Like this is another thing about the diet. Where people fail with diets is that they try to do the diet. I mean, there's one person, one of my friends, he had bone cancer, so he's strict. Like if you have bone cancer, right, that's like the worst cancer you can get. That's awful. He survived it. So he's super strict. He doesn't eat any sugar, like nothing. But he's the only person I know that does that, right? Everyone else who's healthy and fit, like even my friends who do similar to what I do, they're sometimes, twice a week eating carbs or ice cream, but it's not every day, right? And it's probably 90%, eating nutrient-dense food, which I talk about a lot. Nutrient-dense food, want to eat a little bit of food, but have it be nutrient-dense. Like, for example, meat gives you a lot of micronutrients. So everyone's taking all these supplements like B vitamins, they're taking zinc, they're taking coenzyme Q10, they're taking all these different supplements, but you can get all of these nutrients from meat. And, they're taking selenium. Selenium you can get from meat, and selenium actually detoxes mercury. So if you're worried about mercury poisoning, first of all, eat less seafood that's like the big seafood. Like I don't eat much tuna. I don't eat much mackerel. A lot of autoimmune issues are from excessive consumption of vegetables. And there's an interview I did with Sally Norton. She was 8 years, vegetarian for 8 years, and she didn't know what was going on until she started realizing and researching about oxalates, and basically all the people that like green smoothies. And there's lots of people that have come forth with these stories that they've had kidney stones because they were eating lots of almonds, lots of peanuts, lots of spinach, lots of beetroot for years, and now they've got kidney stones because oxalates are like little crystals that deposit in your joints. And it's horrible. So I'm not demonizing vegetables, but I'm just saying that a lot of for example, the vegan movement, I've never heard a vegan talk about anti-nutrients in plants. Like I've never heard it. Wow. And I feel like there's a reason for that, like one of my friends, he was a vegan, and he went to his vegan community friends because he was a yogi. And he told them, like, look, I can't sleep. Like I'm getting ulcers, my hair's falling out. Like I feel weak. And they were like, dude, you're just not doing veganism right. And he's like, I think I am. Like, I've been doing it for a while. And he was scared to switch to meat because this is the social aspect of food, right? Like I talk about as well, is if your social circle is they have this identity of like they're vegan, and you're experiencing health issues, but you don't want to, like, we don't want to leave the tribe, right? Like it's a human, we want to belong to a tribe. So he didn't want to eat meat because he would be removed from the tribe. Like they wouldn't like him anymore. So he didn't want that. So he just kept with these people. And it was only until he changed gyms to my gym that I train at right now that he started eating with these people, that he made new friends at this gym. And then it came to lunchtime and then everyone was eating meat. And so he started eating meat. And now it was like an easy transition from like one group to another group because it was a normal behavior. And then there's a book called Atomic. You asked me about a book earlier, Gabe. So a book that people can read and should read is Atomic Habits. So basically in that book, Atomic Habits, he says, people should go to the place where their desired behavior is the normal behavior. So, for example, like if you want to eat meat, you should hang around with people that eat meat, right? If you want to get in shape, you should hang around people that are in shape because it's a normal behavior. And that's huge for everyone listening to just do that, because if you do that, you will start to adopt new habits and new ways of being because your desired behavior is normal behavior and it becomes normal for you as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's I'm so glad that you're saying this because I feel like people do get kind of sucked into a tribe they don't want to be a part of, like you would say. And that's beautiful, man. So I appreciate you sharing that. And how does your physical health affect your job or business or social interactions?
Oh, it's massive. It's huge because it's about how you feel, right? How you feel is how you experience life.
Yeah.
So if you're not feeling good in your body, then you're not gonna be interacting well with other people. So I make it a point to every day make sure that I'm feeling good. But that's super important for me now. And actually, one of my clients made me aware of this. You know, this is another thing. Like my clients teach me things, which is great. That's actually what I wanted. That's why I got into coaching. It's like because he's a public speaker, right? And he said, you know, I ask myself every morning, how do I want to feel today? How do I want to feel today? And that sets the precedent for the day. Like, and I feel like that's really important to just share. But yeah, your physical health affects every area of your life, you know. And if you're not moving every day, motion creates emotion, right? So if I'm not moving my body, then the emotion is just trapped in me. I need to move through it. I need to do some sort of movement, right? Whatever it is, just some sort of movement will help with how I feel. And so I'm really big on that. And also, you know, how you interact with other people as well. For example, myself, I go to the gym and we have a recovery center. So it's just like sauna, ice bath, jacuzzi, and, you know, just socializing without your phone. That's huge as well. You know, like
totally.
You're improving your health, but you're also getting that social connection at the same time. And that is also another thing in my program is self-care protocols, like how to de-stress, because we're so stressed right now. Especially now this year, but in general, we're always stressed, and how to de-stress is just disconnect and have some real connection. You know, relationships is really important. Having some real connection and, you know, not trying to be someone you're not and just being yourself and just enjoying, you know, the present moment and not being anxious, you know. So earlier this year, I had a panic attack because I was being anxious. I was worried about the future. And it was the only panic attack I ever had. And one of the reasons I had that is because I was just worrying about the future. And, you know, negative self-talk, that's another thing I talk about. Negative self-talk and worrying about the future, those two things will give you a panic attack. You know?
Yeah, no kidding. Holy crap.
Yeah. So now I just take every day as it comes. You know, my mantra before this call was let's do the best I can on this interview, you know, and give as much as I can. And that's it. That's all I'm focused on. Right now, I'm not thinking about the rest of my day. The only thing I'm thinking about right now is this interview.
Yeah. Wow.
I love that. Being able to stay present, able to stay in that moment. It's its own form of meditation. It's amazing. You're talking about worry and anxiety and how it's counterproductive for our health journey and for making that lifestyle of improvement. And with COVID right now and how COVID seems to be blowing up all over the world, everyone seems to be worried about something. Specifically, everyone seems to be worried about COVID right now. So what are some of the personal formulas, some of these mantras, some opinions, some things that you've done to help you in this journey?
Yeah, with the COVID stuff, it's been interesting, right? Like it was interesting because when the COVID stuff happened in the West, I was actually in London and I went to the supermarket with my mum and I saw all the shelves were empty. Like basically all the rice was gone, all the pasta was gone, like a lot of food was gone. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, this is like the apocalypse or something. It's like, it was really quiet, you know. I was like, wow, this is weird. Anyway, I made a video at that time, and I started sharing with people, you know, what foods to buy. And it's all the same stuff I always talk about, you know, boosting your immune system, all that kind of stuff. But most importantly, I was getting people to refocus from everything that was happening and just focus on the facts, which is, if you just focus on improving your health, and, you know, eating less sugars, which ruins the immune system, then you have a better chance of fighting off these infections. And that's basically the main message that I have, because, you know, living in fear, who wants to live in fear? Like, I don't attract people that live in fear because they're successful entrepreneurs. You can't be a successful entrepreneur if you live in fear. So yeah, I feel that message really resonated with people because, you know, that's like the demographic that I'm targeting. I wasn't at the time targeting the masses who were like, no, you should wear a mask, you should just stay indoors, you know. Unless you absolutely have to, and you get fined for walking outside. Like, I mean, here in Bali, that's one of the reasons why I came here, is because I just wanted to be in a space where I feel good every day. And that was why I came here after the COVID stuff happened, like back in March.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I really think that what your message is unbelievable. And I want to just encourage everybody that's watching this podcast to make sure that they follow you. We're going to put all of your links in the description. Really excited about, you know, the new material that you're going to be pulling out for us to be able to be a part of. I know that Gabe and I are probably pretty interested to be a part of what you're going to be doing. I know I am, at least. I won't speak for Gabe, but I know I'm totally stoked about being a part of your stuff. But dude, we only have a couple more questions. Are you able to answer a few more questions with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So this one's kind of, you know, this can be, you know, relative to what we've been talking about, or it can be totally left field, a different subject. It's entirely up to you. But what would be the final piece of advice that you would give everybody around you?
Good question. So I would say focus on what you can control. Don't worry about what you can't control. And do your best every single day and believe in yourself. And wherever you feel fear, that's where you should be heading towards. So don't shy away from the things that scare you, because that's where the growth is. And that's where you feel alive. It's where, when you feel that pit in your stomach, when you're not sure if you can do it anyway, because that's going to help you grow. And if you keep doing that every day and you stay present and you're not worried about the future, you just focus on today and doing the best and attacking your fears, then you'll achieve things that you never thought was possible. And that's the advice to myself right now, and that's the advice that I live by every day. So, you know, that's what it is, doing the hard things.
Wow.
Man. I am so glad you came on here, dude. I am so glad. Your perspective is so important. Not only the fact that it's COVID right now, but in general, this perspective is so necessary. This is getting me so stoked. Like, it's 10 o'clock right now, and I'm probably going to be up for like 4 hours because of this. I'm so excited. But it looks like we only got one last question for you. And it's simply this. What's next for you? What do you have on the horizons?
Yeah, what's next? So releasing my program to more of the masses. Still different demographic, right? So it's still, you know, mostly like over 35s, people that are more interested in longevity, because I'm 31 at the time of recording this. So that's pretty much my market, right? Like people that want to improve their health long-term, stuff like that. So bringing that program out and just really scaling up, you know, like just getting the message out to more people and spreading the message wider, you know, and helping more people, because it's taken me a while to really like refine what I'm doing and the system and all that kind of stuff. And that all takes time, right? And that's another thing, but we can't rush it. That's another reason why I had an anxiety attack earlier this year, is because I was trying to rush the process. It's like, the process is the process. You can't rush the process. You can only just do the things that are in that process and enjoying the process. That's the big thing. Like I enjoy the process so much that I'm not attached to the results, because I'm enjoying the process. I'm already happy because I'm enjoying the process. And that's huge when it comes to nutrition, because that's like the main thing I teach my clients, is to enjoy this process rather than I'll be happy when syndrome. So you asked me about a book. The Happiness Trap is a book I recommend, because it's like, I'll be happy when, That's a syndrome that I had too. You know, it's like, I'll be happy when I do this and this and this. No, you can be happy right now. It's just that you're prolonging your happiness. And ironically, when you accomplish your goal, that's the most empty in time, because now you're like, all right, I've accomplished that. Now what? You know? So it's like, it's the process is where we spend most of our time. So if we're not enjoying the process, we're not enjoying life. And then what's the point?
Amazing.
Wow.
Honestly, it has been such an honor. Thank you so much, my man, to come out here. We really appreciate your insight in this, especially your perspective.
Seriously, so good. And dude, we'll make sure that we put, everybody who's watching this podcast, please go to healthmastery.net. Check out Aaron and his amazing new coaching stuff do you have a release date when that's going to be coming out, Aaron?
Probably like in a month from now.
Okay, excellent.
They go to alphashredding.com, because that's going to be where the new program is. But healthmastery.net is where you can find me for everything else with the coaching and the links to my socials and stuff like that.
Perfect. Yeah, if you guys want to have a ripping, awesome hot bod, you got to be with this guy. But also, not just that, but just to be able to have the ability to just have more energy, everything that we've talked about, be healthier. I mean, this is amazing, dude. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I wish we could be here for another hour. I could just tear apart your brain right now, just hear what you have to say about everything. So thank you so much for coming on, dude.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. It's been great.